There's a lot of talk online about decluttering our homes, but what about decluttering our minds? Because if your mind is overwhelmed, your life will feel chaotic no matter how much you tidy up. In my first video on this channel, I mentioned that to live more intentionally, I decluttered my mind, and Larissa commented, "I'd love a video about what you decluttered from your mind and schedule to align with your values. I know I should do this, but don't really know how. Some examples would be awesome." So today we're going to answer Larissa's question and talk about how to declutter your mind and your schedule so that it aligns with your values. Before we get started, I'm filming at nighttime. For the very first time in my entire YouTube career, I'm filming at night in the dark. So I hope that I've done okay with the lighting. It was a very different setup for me today. We're gonna start by very quickly talking about how to actually define your values and your ideal life so that we actually know what we need to declutter from our mind. So to define your values, you first want to find a list of values. This is super easy to just go to Google and Google values list. Otherwise, I have my own values list and a 3-page intentional living journal. And you can download that by subscribing to my newsletter, and all the instructions are below. But you don't need to, you can just literally go to Google if you want to and find a values list and try to narrow it down to 5. This can actually be quite a tough job to do when you're looking at a list of 100 things. You want to say that you value 30 of those things on the list, but you really have to find your top values, because the thing is, if we value 30 things equally, we really can't fit those 30 things into our daily life. So really try to narrow it down to 5 top values from your values list. And then the next thing to do is to also describe a sentence of your ideal life. Ideally, what would your dream life look like? So for me, part of my ideal life involves us owning a home with a big garden so that I can plant vegetables and flowers and just be gardening all day long. So I want to make this quick point. I used to be very upset that we live in this 2-bedroom apartment with no garden, but I've recently really shifted that thought, and I'm now expressing gratitude for our balcony and the small amount of space that I do have to plant some pots and some flowers and do a little bit of gardening right now. So I think it's great to have goals and things to work towards, but don't let it take you away from enjoying what you have now and being grateful for what you have now. Okay, so you've got your top 5 values. You've defined your ideal life, and you're also being grateful for what you have right now. So now it's time to start decluttering our mind and our schedules. So when we're finding things to declutter from our mind and our schedules, we want to keep in mind our values and our ideal life that we're working towards. So we're going to start by decluttering our negative thoughts. I believe strongly that the thing that will affect your life the most is decluttering your negative thoughts. Your thoughts rule your entire life. So for me, I used to have a problem where I really wanted to live a positive and happy life, but I was actually living a life where I was a victim and just complaining about everything that wasn't going my way. So I wanted to be here with my positive, happy life, but I was actually over here in my victim life. So how do I get where I want to be? I personally needed to eliminate my complaining. I needed to start believing in my potential, and I needed to start focusing on the positives. So think about your goal, where you want to be, and what kind of life you really want to have. And now look where you are now. Does your current self-talk, the way that you talk to yourself in your thoughts, contradict that ideal life that you want? Because if you're talking all these negative things to yourself that contradict that life, you'll never get there. This is what has to be worked on to get yourself over to that ideal life. So another example might be that you have big goals to start your own business, but you're over here and you're constantly doubting yourself. And you're saying things like, I'm not smart enough, I'll never be smart enough, other people are way smarter than me, I don't have it in me to start my own business, these types of things. So you're over here with your thoughts, but your ideal life and your values are all over here. We need to work on getting rid of those thoughts so that we can get over to our ideal life. The negative thoughts that we have about ourselves are really holding us back from our ideal life and from our dreams. So if you want more on negative thoughts, I have made a completely separate video about it, so I will link that above and we will move on. Obligations and commitments. One of the big things I've really had to learn over the past few years is how to say no. No to overcommitting myself and no to things that don't align with my values or my ideal life. When we overcommit to things, we can become stressed and overwhelmed, and it leaves little downtime. And then sometimes we miss out on doing things that are actually really important to us. I actually think downtime, rest time, and doing nothing needs to be put into our calendars. So for me, I know when I've spent an entire weekend doing lots of social things, I'm exhausted. So for the following week and weekend, I try to plan no days into my calendars. On these days, if someone asks if I'm free that day, I politely decline and say that I'm busy. I'm actually really busy looking after myself and doing a lot of nothing. Mostly, I just stay home and catch up on washing, do some activities with my son, spend some downtime as a family together, and just kind of rest and reset. These days are so important to me, and most importantly, I've stopped feeling guilty for saying no when I need these days in my schedule. Another area that we can overcommit is work. So here's a list of examples where we might overcommit at work. Ask yourself if any of these are relevant to you. Taking on extra projects just to please others, not because they align with your goals. Staying in a job that no longer serves you out of fear of change. Answering emails and messages outside of work hours when it's not necessary. Overcommitting to work responsibilities at the expense of personal well-being. Another area worth focusing on is your online and digital commitments. Here are a few things you may consider decluttering to clear your mind. Engaging in social media scrolling that drains your energy, keeping up with online communities, group chats, or forums that no longer add value, watching or consuming content that doesn't align with your goals or values, feeling the need to respond immediately to every text or DM. For me, I have completely ditched Instagram for anything to do with work, and it is so freeing. I don't respond to text straight away, and I don't feel guilty for it. My phone goes on Do Not Disturb every single night at 7:30 p.m. so no one can disturb my evening peace. And my social media apps are blocked from 8:15 p.m. every night using the app Opal, and all of this together keeps my mind decluttered and free in the evenings. I really think it's helped a lot with my sleep and my overall happiness. I'm just setting myself up for the next day in such a better way the night before. Sometimes I think we don't actually know how to locate the things that we might have to declutter from our life and from our mind. So what I suggest that you do in the future is anytime you find yourself having to say yes or no to something in the future, or just decide what you want to do with your time, first pause and ask yourself these two questions. 1, does this align with your values? And 2, will this be a detriment to your own personal well-being? I love that second question. It often stops me in my tracks. Okay, moving along to relationships. Let's take a very quick moment to talk about relationships. You've probably heard it before, and it can be really tough to do, but consider the relationships that impact your life the most. And if need be, set some boundaries and prioritize relationships that support your values. Learning to set boundaries has been a big thing that I've been learning over the years and still learning to this day. Having my parents separate as an adult was a really tricky situation to be in because I was right in the middle of mum and dad, and it took a little bit of time for me to just set some boundaries with them, and eventually over time they both understood. Getting it off our chest. We can also look at decluttering our mind from the perspective of getting it off our chest. If there are hard conversations that you need to have with people in your life and you're playing these issues over and over and over again in your mind, that conversation just needs to be had. It's like ripping off a band-aid. I really like to use AI to help me navigate difficult conversations. I also talk to my psych, but in between therapy appointments, I'll go to ChatGPT, type in the issue I'm having, and ask it for advice on how to best approach the difficult situation. We can use AI to our advantage to help us with our spiritual growth. And I highly recommend Digital Dharma by Deepak Chopra. I just finished reading it, and it's all about how AI can help with our personal growth. It is really, really cool. Practical mind decluttering tips for the mental load. So we can also implement practical things into our lives that will help declutter our mind regularly as well. So things like doing brain dumps when we're feeling really overwhelmed. So just dumping out all our to-dos, our worries, and just anything onto a piece of paper when you're feeling really overwhelmed. It's really nice release for our brain. Creating better systems for achieving our goals and accomplishing our tasks. Having some sort of system in place can really help clear the mind and declutter the mind and not have to hold everything up there. And then also delegating tasks if possible. So I know when I became a new mum, I really felt the pressure of the mental load. And over time, I found ways of delegating certain tasks to my partner, which really helped to clear up my mind a lot. And then the other thing I want to suggest, which I think everyone should do, is create a daily ritual to reset your mental space. So decluttering your mind is going to take time. It's not going to be like an overnight thing, obviously. So I suggest putting a few daily rituals in place to help keep you consistent on decluttering your mind and to also just help declutter your mind in the moment. So here are 3 daily ritual ideas that I can suggest. Creating a mindful moment of the day. So this is where you make sure that there is one moment in your day where you are doing nothing. You are just sitting in peace. You might be drinking your coffee while you're doing this or staring out to the trees out the window. You're not meditating. You're actually letting your thoughts come. You're letting your mind wander, and anything that does come up for you, like, oh, I got to remember to do that thing, you can jot it down on a piece of paper, or, oh, this thing is worrying me, and maybe you're ruminating over your thoughts about a difficult situation you're in. Write that worry down on the piece of paper. You basically want to let your thoughts come as you're kind of daydreaming. And basically what you're doing is viewing your thoughts in a really conscious way. And you can see kind of where your problems lie at the time and take notes of them. And then you can create a plan to prioritize your problems or your to-dos and figure out ways of either letting them go or dealing with them. Number 2 is practicing mindfulness all throughout the day. So be really mindful when you're making your coffee in the morning. Be super present, smell all the smells, hear all the sounds, and just really enjoy the process of making your coffee. Oop. Little fly. Also set up mindful reminders. Sometimes practicing mindfulness, the hardest part is actually remembering to be mindful and being present. So this might involve setting up a reminder on your phone that dings at a certain time every day and tells you, are you being mindful? Or the other idea is sticky notes around your house, reminding you to stop and take a deep breath, or be mindful today, or be grateful today. These sticky notes don't have to be around your house forever, don't worry. Eventually you'll build these things into your life as a habit and you can just take those sticky notes down. Sometimes we just need a little bit of reminding at the beginning. When I learned about the importance of the word awareness, I wrote it down on a sticky note and put it inside my bathroom mirror, and it stayed there for months. Now the word awareness is imprinted in my brain as something of real importance. So the 3rd daily ritual is to have at least 7 minutes of daily meditation. I suggest 7 minutes as opposed to just 5 minutes because I feel like everything really good happens after the 5-minute mark. I've been meditating for years on and off, but for the past year, I've been really consistent with meditating. And it always takes me 5 minutes to really settle into my meditation and settle into the seat of self. After 5 minutes, I feel like my body's really relaxed. I feel like I stop twitching and fidgeting, and that's when the magic starts to happen for me. So comment meditation below if you want me to talk more about how I made meditation a really consistent part of my life. Lastly, here is an exercise for you to go away with. It's a simple 2-step process to declutter your mind. Step 1. Write down everything on your mind that is causing you stress or worry right now. Step 2. Ask yourself, can I change it or can I let it go? If you want a deeper dive into letting go of negative thoughts, watch this video here where I teach you how to do just that. I like to end my videos with something that I'm grateful for. Today, I am grateful for my courage. I faced a fear this week and I've come out the other side stronger and really proud of myself. So I'd love to know, what are you grateful for today?